Steel Curtain Network.
¡Pique the Pickens! ¡Pique the Pickens! ¡Pique the Pickens!
What's up, Steeler fans, and welcome back to another Thursday episode of the Steelers Preview. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Bryan Davis and Dave Schofield. Bryan, what's up?
Hey, I guess the season is officially over now, and it's all over. But the Swifties and the talk of what went wrong in San Francisco. But hey, that's all going to lead to people running around out there that everybody could throw up rumors out to say, oh, they look good in black and gold.
That's true. Dave Schofield, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's good to be here. Happy that everybody is in off-season mode now. It just feels different.
Yes. All right. Let's get things started. I want to talk about something that happened a few days ago, but I wanted to get y'all's take on it. Some might call it the curious case of Presley Harvin. I don't know. That's a good title. We should have titled the show that. But anyways, the three players that were cut, and that's been talked about on all of our evening shows, live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc. And I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but there's only one that has me going, I don't know what happened. What is going on? And it's Presley Harvin. Like, Dave, you said this on your Stat Geek podcast. He saved them hardly any money. After displacement, it's going to be like, what, $90,000? Wasn't that what you said this morning, I think?
It's something like that.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. Something happened. I don't know what. Maybe we'll find out someday. Maybe we won't. But, Bryan, when you found out the big press was no longer a member of the Steelers, what was your reaction?
My reaction was that kind of just frees up any kind of controversy, because Dave Schofield always has, he always does that when I bring his name up. He listens like, oh, he's going to talk about me.
Oh, what did I say? What's going to be held against me?
Dave Schofield has this Presley Harvin III philosophy, and if I'm stepping on your toes, I apologize, that he is going to wow you when the weather's nice in preseason and in training camp, and you're going to think you've got this great guy. And I think that they expect that, and they know that, and then they feel stuck in the regular season, and they're just cutting their losses at this point and saying, all right, we'll just do it now. We're going to start fresh. Obviously, they have their eyes on either some free agent punters out there, or they know what they can do as far as bringing somebody else in, as an undrafted free agent. Because remember, I might screw up his name, and it's either Brandon or Braden, but his last name is Mann, and he wasn't that bad for the Philadelphia Eagles. And there was a coin toss at the end of last year. And, well, if you played spin the bottle, it went on, and they kissed Presley Harvin one more time.
Hell, Brad Wing wasn't that bad when Big
Come
Press
on, stop taking everything from me to say.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead. What was your take on Big Press?
I'm going to say, well, first of all, I think we're going to see the wingman back. We can't see him yet because he signed for the UFL.
Yeah.
So, hey, tell him, go kick there. Show us what you got. As long as everything goes good, we want you right back here in black and gold. That's why those guys don't sign futures contracts, so they can play there. If they sign a futures contract, they can't. That's the difference. So for some of these players, that was smart. Okay. There are plenty of other options out there they could have. But what I think happened here, Jefferson, is I think we have some members of the Pittsburgh Steelers front office that love to check out steelcurtainnetwork.com, and they're getting ready to announce these cuts. They just so happened to check out the exit interviews article that had just come out there on that day that was about one Christian Kuntz and Presley Harvin. And what did I say? The Steelers need to write themselves a note, like Ted made Barney Stinson do, to tell him why he didn't like Robin. So wherever he wanted to go back with Robin again, he wouldn't know why. For those of you that can get the How I Met Your Mother reference, write yourself a note to say, this is what Presley Harvin did at the end of the season. He did it the year before. Don't get wowed by him again. Exactly what Bryan was saying that I said. So what was the best note they could leave themselves? One that signed off his release. None of these moves were because of salary cap. Yes, Chukwuekorfor did save you a significant chunk of change on the salary cap, but all three of these moves were players that the Steelers needed to move on from if they were going to, and they figured, why not do it now? Give them a chance to be a street free agent, which is an advantage because you don't have to wait until March 11th to sign as a street free agent. Those guys could sign somewhere else right now. Because remember, that's how Miles Jack ended up with the Steelers in the first place. He was a street free agent. He could sign before the league year started. So they're kind of doing them a favor, but these were just guys that they knew they weren't going to have next year. So the Steelers made the decision that they needed to go somewhere else, do something else at punter. Even if they don't have that answer right now, they knew it needed to be different.
So I'll bring the super chat up here quickly before we move on. So Russell Swartz gives us $5. Thank you very much, by the way. He said, Matt Ariza, bring the kid in. That's the punt god, I believe is what he calls himself maybe.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good punter. Obviously has a semi-sorted past, even though he's been claimed innocent of all charges. I'm not getting into all that. Really, I'm not right now. And that's going to be an option if the Steelers want to go down that road. I will say this, though. This is where I am now. Is this a sign of the way the Steelers are going to be doing business now compared to what they used to do? They would never make this move before. And the reason why is he's a drafted player. He's not going to save you a lot of money. Bring him into camp. You have 90 players on the offseason roster. It's not like he's taking up one valuable spot like on the 53, and you would bring in competition and may the best punter win. It just doesn't add up to me. It screams like, and I'm not going to say, I hate saying this, it screams of something like Stephon Tuitt, where Stephon Tuitt had something tragic happen in his life. And we know Presley Harvin did have something tragic happen in his life last season, not this past season, the year before, when he had 2 family members pass away in like the course of a month or so. But he came back this past, it was a very short amount of time. He comes back, and I don't know, maybe he said, maybe he said, I'm done. Maybe he said, I don't want to play football anymore. Maybe he said, I'm done with this organization. I don't want to be here. I don't know. There's just something fishy about this. Like you said, Dave, the other two, I felt the writing was on the wall. Chooks, Mitch, see you later. Go ahead, Bryan. What are you going to say?
You know what? I want to say something about punting in Pittsburgh. And when you think of recent National Football League punters, who's the most confident? Who's the cockiest that you can think of? I'm not talking about a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Right now?
Not current, but he makes a lot of waves right now.
Yeah.
He's
McAfee.
Pat McAfee, and Pat McAfee's a Pittsburgh guy. He's from Plum, and his quote either yesterday or today was, "Punting in Pittsburgh is tough. I wouldn't want to do it." That doesn't sound like something that Pat McAfee usually says if it wasn't a really tough place to punt as well. So it's really interesting, but I go back to the Dave theory, and I just call it the fool's gold story. The theory, you feel like you've got fool's gold in August and September, and you just are looking like a fool.
No, it's a good valid point. I do want to transition from this talking point into the topic of today's episode, which is I want you all to predict what is next on the offseason to-do list. I think there's a couple avenues where the Steelers could go next. Not that they're only going to go down one and not the other. I think they could add to the coaching staff still. I'm not sold on them being done, that they could add coaches, whether it's an assistant, maybe it's bringing Mike Sullivan back in some type of advisory role. I don't know. They also could be releasing more players as the league year approaches salary cap purposes. Dave, do you want to go first on this one? Where do you think they're going to go next?
I was just going to throw out a number there, because we talked about it on Scobro. Steelers currently, because Mike Sullivan's still on the website, the Steelers have 2 quarterback coaches. The Steelers currently have 9 offensive coaches to 6 defensive coaches. Just remember that.
15 total coaches, which I think last year, didn't they have 19?
That's not counting Mike Tomlin. That's not counting special teams. I'm just saying, if you go on their website and count the numbers, including the coordinators, there's 9 on offense, only 6 on defense. That seems a little bit light on defense right now.
Okay. Very good. So, Dave, do you just want to answer it first? Where do you think they're going to go next?
Oh, what was that?
On the to-do list, the offseason to-do list? Yeah.
Honestly, whether I'm not gonna tell the Steelers what their answer is, but to me, you've got to do something with Allen Robinson's contract. Whether you're releasing Allen Robinson, whether you are redoing, but I mean, to me, you would have to redo that deal because you can't even take his $10 million base salary and say, oh, let's give that to you as a signing bonus minus the league minimum. That's too much unless you wanted to sign him for 5 years. And why do you want to sign someone that age for 5 years? So something's going to be done there. It could maybe be like, hey, we'll do it. We'll give you this much. We'll roll this into the next year and blah, blah, blah. But something's going to be done there, whether they release him or redo that. I'm fine with whatever they do, but just because they have some of these questions with these contracts, that's the one that jumps out more. You gotta Patrick Peterson's another one. Just some of those guys.
Let's pause and talk about A-Rob first. Let's talk about Allen Robinson's contract first. Dave, do you know he's what, 10 million? They would say
10 million is his base salary.
Okay, so they wouldn't save 10.
So he's at like his salary cap hit, of course, includes the dead money from his signing bonus last year. So it's at 11, 9, 17, 500.
So that's what they would save.
No, so they would save 10 million.
Got it.
Because they have the 1,917,500 in dead money.
To me, Allen Robinson gets the William Jackson III treatment. This is a very similar situation. Do you remember when they got William Jackson III in a trade? He was going to be due a crazy number. And we all said, hey, you cut him because you need the cap space. And then if you want to re-sign him, sign him back. I don't think William Jackson even played in the NFL last year. But Bryan, I'll throw it to you. How are you handling Allen Robinson? He didn't have that great of a season to me.
Yeah, the great season that Allen Robinson had happened indoors. And I'm not talking indoor stadiums. I'm talking in locker rooms. That's probably on practice fields and practice bubbles. That's where he was most valuable. But we're now in a new NFL day and age where you just can't keep that because there are other guys to bring in. There's money to have. Now, I love everybody that says worst trade ever, worst free. No, it worked. Did he have a great year? No, but they were still better off bringing the guy in. It didn't hurt him. In fact, I think it might have helped. You might disagree with me on the demeanor of some of the other wide receivers, but I really think he was a positive influence on that wide receiver room. I shudder to think what it would be without him, actually. But going forward, I think they would be fine. And parting is such sorrow sometimes, but it's a business, and they're going to have to do the William Jackson, the WJ3 treatment on Allen Robinson. And I really liked him, and I have no problem with them bringing him in, but now you've got to just make some room.
Yeah. Dave, do you want to add anything about Allen Robinson?
Well, it's just, you'd like to have something where you get more production, but really what it's all about is how Allen Robinson fit last year versus how he could fit this year if they want to bring him back at a much reduced rate or not. That's really more for the Steelers to decide. I mean, we could sit here and argue about if he is or if he isn't. Really, it doesn't. It's really what they feel. I wouldn't be torn up if they decided, we'll have him back for a cheap deal. But then again, at the same time, he might not even, win the job at camp or whatnot. He's getting up there. I'm trying to remember how old he is exactly. So it just, you can't have that contract going into next year. You just can't.
I believe he's 33, but I need to check on that.
That's what I thought. Bryan, your take now on what the next thing on the Steelers to-do list is.
I think it is to do a lot of internal things, actually be fairly quiet on everything that you're doing. This is the part of the season where we really don't need to know, but if you're doing anything, it's going to be with coaching. It is going to be cleaning up those contracts and making room for the whole free agency period, which is less than a month away now. It's 3.5 weeks off? Is that the official
roughly
mark?
The 10th. Is it the 10th? No, the 11th is when they can start tampering. And then
we're at noon on Monday, March 11th.
Yeah. So we're on the 15th. So we're looking at about 3.5 weeks.
We're less than a month.
So The next thing to do is have Sheldon White and Dan Colbert and everybody else get ready for this combine and look at that, and then have the other department, Sheldon's other department, go and look at who they're going to be courting when that tampering period begins. So I think that's what they need to do. Any moves are going to be, like I said, snipping and maybe adding some extra pieces in the coaching staff.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, because really the coaching staff, like Dave mentioned, there's just not a lot of them. And even though they like a small staff, they're still going to have to fill out some people. Go ahead, Bryan.
And one thing it does not include is making a trade for Justin Fields. I'm going to quote Will Smith. I'm going to quote Will Smith and say, take Justin Fields' name out of your mouth. Because, guys, I love this. I'm reading all this stuff. Even Colin Coward's in the mix now. Why Fields doesn't fit. Then somebody else nationally is why Fields fits. Fields is not coming. Art Rooney too said they're not.
It's all about betting odds, because the betting odds are the top odds for him to be in Pittsburgh. You want to know what? The top odds are also for Russell Wilson to be in Pittsburgh.
That's why.
They can't both happen. You're talking betting odds and moving money.
When your phone rings about rumors, look to see if it's a 412 or a 724 or somebody from Steel Curtain Network. That's what you need to do.
Jeff, we need to be on that. We need to find out more about that one.
I'm not going to take a hard stance and say that they won't trade for a quarterback, or if it's Justin Fields, whatever, based on the fact that I think the Steelers, from what we've heard, Bryan, is that they're leaving their options open. Yeah. And they're not about to just say, well, it's going to be Kenny Pickett this year. I mean, do I think they're going to trade for Justin Fields? No, because I think the Bears are going to be asking for too much. Would they want to bring in Justin Fields if the price was right? I think they'd entertain it. I absolutely think they would entertain it. But at the same time, a lot of things have to happen before that. And because I don't want to go down this road.
Come on. Bryan brought it up. I will at least say something.
But the 50-year option, my head. The 50-year option's hanging over. Yeah.
I'll shave my head on this show while eating 5 gallons of ice cream and downing vodka.
No, that's fine. All I'll say is this, though, Bryan. In 2019, I wrote an article. This was at our old stomping grounds, about how Minkah Fitzpatrick was pissed off and maybe the Steelers could make a move. And people said the same damn thing about there's no way, never going to happen. And what happens? They traded a first-round draft pick.
I would never go as far as Bryan.
So I'm never going to say, especially with Omar Khan and Andy Weidel at the helm, I'm not going to say we have seen since Omar Khan took over. Afton, which, by the way, happy birthday, Afton.
Happy birthday, Afton.
Hey, I didn't know
that. Since he's come on board, Omar Khan is the GM. Things have been done and handled differently. You think Kevin Colbert was trading Chase Claypool? No, that was his second-round pick. He's not trading Chase Claypool. I'm just saying these things that have happened, and I'm not saying that I have any inside information that Bryan doesn't know. We know the same stuff. What I'm saying is that I'm not about to make a super hard stance here when we have heard that the Steelers are going to keep their options open. And I think that's all options.
My turn.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay. I would not take a hard stance like Bryan that it's not going to happen. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't like the idea of it. I had a big-time Bears fan who I hadn't talked to in several years text me out of the blue yesterday and wanted to know about Justin Fields coming to Pittsburgh and what I'm like. And I'm just like, no. And he's like, really? I'm like, could they do it? Yeah. I just don't want them to. And here's why I don't want them to. I just don't think it's a very good situation. And first of all, I try to say, if you all think so highly of Justin Fields, then keep him. Okay. My thing is, he's got 1 year left before a 5th-year option. Do you want to shell out about $22 million for year number 2 when he hasn't taken a snap for your franchise?
Okay,
I would say no.
I have a question before you go any further.
Uh-huh.
Would the Steelers, so let's say any team that trades, let's say it's Atlanta. Let's go with Atlanta because Atlanta's supposedly interested as well. Let's say Atlanta makes the trade, and that trade happens at the beginning of the league year. The deadline for the 5th-year option is in May, is it not?
May 2nd.
So the Bears don't have to make that decision prior to the trade,
Exactly.
but Atlanta could say, look, because they now have that decision to make. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yes, but the Steelers decided on Minka Fitzpatrick.
No, right. I know.
So my understanding is once he's on a different team, they have until May 2nd to exercise that. But if the Bears exercise the option, then that option goes with them.
You can't rescind it, right? Yeah.
Yes.
But you could do a new contract, could you not? If you're a firm believer in Justin Fields,
you haven't done the 5th-year option.
So even if Atlanta trades for him and he had the 5th-year option already exercised by the Chicago Bears, they couldn't say we're going to do a 3-year extension and be able to manipulate those numbers.
Once you do the 5th-year option, year 4 is guaranteed, year 5 is guaranteed.
Right. I know that.
I don't know that you can do that. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm just going to say I don't know that you can. I would literally assume just asking, that you couldn't, but I can't say for sure.
Literally just asking for clarification. That's fine. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry to
no biggie. So that's an issue right there that you have the whole 5th-year option thing. So if you don't exercise that, which I think would be foolish for a new team because you don't know how he fits, you're talking about a 1-year rental. I don't like giving up the draft capital, even if it's, a round 3 pick would still make me not really like, hey, Steelers got 2 4th-rounders. If they'll do it for a 4th-rounder, then I would consider it for 1 season. For someone who I have to say is no guarantee would be an upgrade over Kenny Pickett because he turns the ball over. Now, he didn't do it as much last year as he did the year before. And someone said in the live chat, I'm not sure who, that it would say, does Mike Tomlin want to sign up for the turnover? My biggest thing of why I don't want it is look at the track record of Ohio State quarterbacks. The greatest NFL Ohio State quarterbacks is either they 1 year CJ Stroud or Mike Tomczak. Okay.
The Buckeye fans say Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow was with Ohio State.
Then Fields, wasn't he on 2 different teams?
Did he transfer?
Either Fields or Stroud, one of the 2 went to 2 colleges.
Okay.
I can't remember which one it was.
Doesn't matter. Check that. So that's like saying Joe Flacco was the great Pitt quarterback in the NFL.
So, but that's just me with the whole in my mind and the numbers with that. But to me, I'm not convinced that he is that much better than what the Steelers have because I'm probably going to talk more about it eventually here, breaking down more numbers on StatGeek. I think Georgia. Thank you, Brad. I thought that was something like that. I think people thought that Kenny Pickett was so bad and Mason Rudolph was so good because of the palate cleansing of Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky came in with such a terrible quarterback play. It's almost like Steelers fans thought that it was that bad under Kenny Pickett, which it wasn't. And they almost thought that it had to be that much greater than Pickett because it was so much better than Trubisky. I still don't understand. It's not like I'm a Kenny Pickett fan. I don't care who the quarterback is as long as they do a great job. The one reason I like Kenny Pickett is you're paying him no matter what. So if you don't have to pay anybody else anything more, that's great. But yeah, the Steelers, this is one of the things on the list. Figure out what the crap they're doing at quarterback, which is one of the things Jeff wrote about. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying with Justin Fields, I'm not guaranteed that that's there because the one thing that I don't know that you have from Fields that you do have from Kenny Pickett, yes, Kenny Pickett threw 6 touchdowns in 12 games this year. That's terrible. That's awful. But you know what Kenny Pickett did? He also won close games.
True.
And he also had a higher completion percentage and the most passing yards in his one time without Matt Canada when those 2 other fill-in coordinators were trying to figure out what they were doing after 1 week. Jeff was right when it happened. We need to know what we have in Kenny Pickett without Matt Canada this year rather than have to wait for next year. Unfortunately, Kenny Pickett got hurt, so we have to wait till next year to really know. It's just the hand that they're dealt right now.
Right. Go ahead, Bryan. You've been wanting to talk. Go ahead.
Why did I start this whole thing? And the reason I started this whole thing about the bet, why he's not going to be, Jeff, I agree with you. I was not on that Minka's never coming. And I keep on telling everybody, if I've preached the last 4 or 5 years. It's like, this is not your same old Steelers. Don't say the Steelers never do it, because they're going to. But the reason I'm saying that about Justin Fields is because what's driving me crazy, and I said 412-724, the national media just says, oh, well, hey, Mike Tomlin loved Justin Fields in that draft. Yeah, you know who else he loved in that draft? Other guys that went really high in that draft. He probably loves a lot of people. Now, the most ridiculous thing I'm hearing in the world is Arthur Smith is now on the team. And, well, we heard the Tannehill stuff. That's not the ridiculous stuff. Steelers are probably going to trade for Desmond Ridder. He's linked to Pittsburgh now. No, you're linking him to Pittsburgh because he played with Arthur Smith. He was horrible. He cost Arthur Smith his job. So why are they going to reunite? Because they're familiar? Guess what? When I was in high school, I had pictures of East German figure skater Katarina Witt on my locker because she won the Olympic gold and she was hot the year before and she shared my same birthday. So I thought it was awesome. Guess what? I was linked to her. Doesn't mean she was going to go out with me. No, because she wasn't in Pennsylvania and she never met me. So, but all I'm saying here is all this familiarity, everybody has familiarity. If you played with somebody in high school, they're going to team up in the pros. Just like last year, Pittsburgh was not in the market for a wide receiver, but everybody had Jordan Addison coming in over bigger needs because of the familiarity with Kenny Pickett. Familiarity isn't everything in this game. Everybody has links. It's 6 degrees of Tom Brady, 6 degrees of Kenny Pickett. Everybody has those degrees. I'm done.
I think what it comes down to is Dave said it. I wrote about it at SteelCurtainNetwork.com, which is this is just the area that the Steelers need to figure out. Whether it's Mason Rudolph coming back, Kenny Pickett's going to be there. Maybe if they were to say like Mason Rudolph signs a contract and he's back, and they bring in a Jacoby Brissett or a Joshua Dobbs and Kenny Pickett's there, and then they draft a mid to late round guy for 4 quarterbacks. Okay, let's roll with it. Let's see what we have. And Kenny Pickett will get another shot to compete. We know that. I think that's what it comes down to. And all these people are just saying, well, the Steelers have a team need a quarterback. So the most recent one, saw it on ESPN.com today, Mac Jones, they're not crazy about him in New England. What about him in Pittsburgh? Like, that's just where they're going. All these national media pundits are just saying they have a need. Here's a quarterback. Let's make some content because we know the Steelers fans are going to consume it. So we don't want to go too far down that road. I'm going to say one more thing before we take a break about what the Steelers need to do and their to-do list in this offseason. They have to figure out what they're doing with Cam Hayward's contract.
Yeah.
To me, that is the giant elephant in the room that most fans and probably the organization is like, the dude just won Walter Payton Man of the Year. He's been a cornerstone of this team since he was drafted in the first round out of Ohio State. I want nothing more than him to stay and maybe win a championship before he rides off into the sunset. But my gosh, we can't pay him that much. You can't pay him that much. You got to figure something out. So that's on my to-do list. Do any of you have anything to say about that before we take a break?
No, I love that. I love that you brought it up. It was interesting that he said, I don't want to play for any other coach in his acceptance speech. Best acceptance speech ever in a long time that especially in sports. One of the greatest. I just love that whole thing.
I need to hear.
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic with especially with Prince freaking Harry. I mean, like he was taken back by the fact that the Prince was up there. He was so awesome. And I don't think when you said that, I don't think there's another Steeler right now that I'd rather see win a ring with Pittsburgh than Cam Hayward. He's number 1 on that list right now. But they got to figure it out because this is a new NFL, this new world. You cannot compete with contracts that high without sacrificing other things.
Absolutely. Dave, any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, but honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if what happens with Cam's contract is done later. I mean, it would be nice if they did it sooner because it's a big number, but you could also do it later because I think they could do it otherwise. I think what you'll see first, who's going to get the restructure this year? Alex Highsmith. Because if you look at how it's happened, 2 years ago, it was TJ Watt because he had the 3 years left. Okay. Last year it was Minkah Fitzpatrick because his contract went out the furthest. It had the 3 years left. This year now it's Highsmith from where they did that. So that's the one that I think they'll restructure because they have the most years to spread it out over. And that one right there, I think. Let me see how much would it save? I'm thinking it was like 7. Could they save? It might even be more than 7. Hold on, I can tell you real quick. Yeah, it would about 7.2 is how much they could save restructuring Highsmith, and that one just makes the most sense because you can spread it out. So I think that's one that you'll see even before Cam. But Cam's tricky, especially winning that award now. Like you don't want to part ways with him. But I think you got to try to figure out a number in the future to get him under contract for a couple more years, even if you don't have to feel like you have to pay him over that time, just to spread out this year's a little bit more.
All right. Well said. All right, we're going to take a quick break. For those that are listening on the audio side only, everyone else, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, you name it, we're not going anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. All right, Steeler fans, welcome back to the second half. Thank you for putting up with all of our nonsense in the first half. There's more to come. I hope you are ready for this. Hey, Bryan, I wanted to give you the floor for a second, and that's a dangerous thing because you've been known to go on tangents. We'll put it that way.
I have no clue what this is. This is awesome.
This is awesome. You put this out on Twitter, and I wanted to give you an opportunity, a platform. You kind of mentioned this on your Bad Language podcast earlier in the week, but I was like, Bryan needs a better platform. Not that you're bad language. You want a public platform with a comment section is what I'm talking about. And you said that after Cam Hayward won the Walter Payton Man of the Year, that it was the most proud moment for you as a fan in 45 years of fandom. And someone that we both know kind of was like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And you were like, well, of course. And he said, well, then how can you comment on the games? And I don't think you responded to that. But I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of explain yourself. Because I even read that, I was like, wow, that's a pretty glaring declaration. Like, I don't know if I'd go that far, but I want to give you the opportunity to explain yourself though, nonetheless.
Okay, this is really easy for me, guys. And when I just figured I was busy at the time of that thread, and this is somebody that I respect this fellow that put it out there.
Do you though?
No.
I missed all this. Where was I?
It was on Twitter. It was all on Twitter.
You got list, so I don't see it.
But this is easy for me because I could be proud of the Steelers winning Super Bowls. I could be proud of TJ Watt breaking the sack record. I could be proud of all of that. But when you have somebody that last year did not win the award again for the 5th consecutive year, and then in the 6th year finally wins it and puts on the speeches of all speeches, but is so gracious, and you watch the vignette beforehand and see everything that he has done, and you realize it's a lot bigger than anything. You realize that, athletic accomplishment, we expect them to all have athletic accomplishments. I'm not proud of an athlete for doing their job. I'm not proud of being a Steeler fan when they win because they are, that is their job. That's what they're doing. They're expected to go out there and put things together. I'm proud of my team when they overcome things. That's great. But this is a different kind of proud. And the reason it's a different kind of proud is this is somebody that was inspired by his late father, which a lot of us are inspired by so many people in this world. But he went out, made it a family affair. He talked about how his mom picks up the slack for him when he's doing stuff, but he makes sure all of these things happen. When you're touching lives and trying to make the community around you, the world around you, a little bit better, that's different to me than a 100-yard interception in the Super Bowl. That's different than a guy balling out on the field when that's what they're doing. They are not, it's not in their contract to go out and buy suits for young Pittsburgh men that need suits for a job interview or a prom or what have you. It's not in the job description to have Cam's kindness week. It's just not. So this was the proudest I ever was of my franchise, and I'm going to hold to it. I'm not going to go back on it. Yeah, I can comment on the games, and I'm proud when they win, but I expect them at the beginning of the season to put together a winning combination. That's what we're talking about now. Everything that this organization, not just 53 men on the field, not 18 coaches or however you have, not a strength and conditioning coach, not the front office, they all are putting this together for that reason, to win, and that's doing their job. This goes above and beyond. And yeah, so I was very proud of it. And it was me being proud of humanity more than anything.
Yeah, Cam's like the Abraham Lincoln of the Pittsburgh Steelers. 6 times the charm. Wasn't that how many times Abraham Lincoln ran for president before he finally
really?
won?
I did not know that.
It might not have been 6, but he ran a bunch of times before he actually was elected. But wouldn't this mean that you should have been proud the whole time? Like, we've known Cam's doing this forever. He's just getting the national recognition now.
Yeah, you know what? That's very true, but it's wow, I'm on the grill here.
No.
Oklahoma
Joe. I am
not. No, you know what? I was proud of him all the time, and I'm proud of everybody. When I see rookies at Children's Hospital, I'm proud. But I was more invested in that than TJ Watt. I knew TJ Watt wasn't winning Defensive Player of the Year, and I would have loved to have seen Joey Porter Jr., but I'm more proud of how this happened, and it was a culmination. You know what I'm not proud of, and what still sticks in my craw to this day, is that Alejandro Villanueva never won the Salute to Service Award. You know, I mean, and everything that he's done.
I laugh because it's hysterical. The dude served 2 tours
in
Afghanistan, and they don't give him the Salute to Service.
And Dan Quinn won it the year he should have won it because the Falcons were in the Super Bowl.
I remember that now.
It's really, I mean, those are the kind of things. So yeah, I'm super proud of Cam Hayward. I think it's amazing. But when somebody just like this, you know, we had you know who I'm proud of, and he's a Baltimore Raven, and God boo me all you want, but Mark Andrews helped save a woman's life who was having a diabetic attack on a plane a couple weeks ago. I'm super proud of that because that's a humanitarian thing. There's some people that just sit back and do nothing. Then there's the people that help. I'm going to talk about
Calais Campbell's a guy that's just done a ton of stuff too.
What's that?
Calais Campbell's another guy that's just done so much. And it's just so good to see these guys doing these things. And all I have to say about the Walter Payton Man of the Year is I'm glad the way that they choose it with the panel that chooses it, and that it's not up to the crappy AP voters.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't feel like I'm being grilled. I was just messing. I wanted to get that Oklahoma Joe quote in there.
If they're listening,
there you go.
Help you. Help us. Help you. Like that's how you
put another shrimp on the bobby.
All right. Hey, I have a quick trivia question. I looked it up real quick before. Dave mentioned Ohio State quarterbacks. So my brain immediately goes, and there's always a narrative. Oh, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, they love their Ohio State guys. So I was looking it up. Who was the last player drafted by the Steelers from Ohio State? It's actually been a while.
Jared Holloman or something like that?
No, he was from Louisville. Holloman was the 7th rounder.
Well, there was someone else in that same draft.
Duron Grant, I would say.
Dorian Grant,
Doran Grant in 2015.
Yeah. That was the same draft, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Holloman, one of those two was from Ohio State, and one of them wasn't.
Holloman was a 7th rounder, and Doran Grant was a 4th. But I was like, wow, that is a narrative that, they love their Buckeyes. Haven't drafted one since 2015.
Yeah.
Think about that. Okay, Brian, what's your trivia?
All right. So let's go ahead and talk about Offensive Player of the Year, since we're talking about awards that happened last week. When was the last time that a Pittsburgh Steeler won the AP Man of the Year? Not Man of the Year, excuse me, the AP Offensive Player of the Year.
Offensive Player of the Year.
AP Offensive Player of the Year.
Franco Harris.
Dave?
I have to recluse myself from this question.
Because you know the answer. Was this on Stat Geek and I missed it?
No.
All right. You're the closest, but it's never.
I was going to say, I didn't think it ever happened.
It has never happened. And you would have thought even in the 70s it could have happened, but no, the Steelers have never had that. Now, when the Steelers were putting out offense like crazy, especially 78 and 79, Earl Campbell had like a grasp on that award. He won 3 straight years.
He won like 3 in a row or something?
78, 78, 79, and 1980.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, one more question. We were just talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, or what it was called before that. So my question to you is, when was the last time the Steelers had a Walter Payton Man of the Year Award winner?
I know that one too.
Go ahead, Dave. I know that.
No, it's because I have them all in front of me based on what my trivia is. That's why I had to recluse myself.
Well, Lynn Swann won it at one time, didn't he? No? I don't know. I could have thought I saw like 4.
Can I say it?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was Jerome Bettis.
2001.
Jerome Bettis was the most recent, but there were other people that won it. Didn't Joe Green win it too?
He's the most recent. Wasn't that the question?
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
Joe Green won it.
Yeah, Joe Green won it. Lynn Swann won it.
Franco won the first one.
Franco won it.
And I think that's it.
Yeah. I wrote the article for that too, so that's why I do those.
Has to be Antonio Brown. Anthony.
See, there's something that Bryan, you said about the offensive player of the year and how Earl Campbell won it 3 times. Who's the only other player to win it in a row? Who's the only other player to win it 3 times in a row?
Oh, goodness.
Tom Brady?
No.
Aaron Rodgers?
No.
I would probably say, was it Jerry Rice?
Mm-mm.
Was it
Barry
running back?
Sanders?
It was a running back 3 times in a row. Actually, I think they're the only times that anyone's even won it back to back.
Did he do it with 2 teams, or was it? It was Marshall
one
Faulk.
team. It was Marshall Faulk. 99, 2000, and 2001.
Is he a guy we forget about a lot for some, even though he's a Hall of
Steelers
Famer?
fans do, because, well, although we should thank him, wasn't he the reason that they traded Bettis?
No, Lawrence Phillips was the reason they
traded
traded Bettis.
That's right. But they ended up all right after all, I think. Steelers did better, but still.
Yeah.
So who was it? Did I miss that?
There's Marshall Faulk.
Oh, okay. All right. Dave, what's your trivia?
My trivia is a follow-up to last week's trivia. And last week Last week I asked about the AP Defensive Rookie of the Year because Joey Porter Jr. was one of the finalists for that. So I figured, why not go Offensive Rookie of the Year and Steelers history? And now I'm not counting the past 2 years. I'll try not to go on a rant like I did on Stat Geek this morning, because the last 2 years they changed how they vote. You don't just vote for one person anymore. It used to be you voted for one person, you had that person, that was your vote. Now you're voting 1, 2, 3, and they do points and all this other stuff. Because technically the Steelers had a player last year get points. Was it last year? Maybe it was last. Yeah, last year.
Was that Kenny?
It got points. Kenny Pickett got points, but he didn't get any first place votes. So to me, I was only going back beyond that at first place votes, which should be what it comes down to, in my opinion. And that is why Damar Hamlin should have been the comeback player of the year, because the idiot voters didn't realize the criteria of the award, that it's not about performance. It's only about how big of a comeback you made. And the reason I think that's a huge shame, I'm just going to say that award should have been renamed for Damar Hamlin, and they didn't even give it to him, because they've never had somebody die on the field and then come back and play the next year. You can't come back any further than that. And they didn't even give him the award. Instead, they gave the award to somebody who came back from sucking last year. That's what they did. Okay. If you want to hear more on that, listen to Stat Geek. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers, how many AP, of course, this goes back to 1968, offensive rookie of the years have they had in their history?
And
who
8. No, 7.
Is Bryan frozen or is he waiting? Okay.
No,
Bryan.
I'm waiting for Jeff to finish.
Yeah.
7.
I'm going to say I can only think
not
of 3
votes who've actually won the award.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of 3 major ones to me, and one is a tough one. 2 should be no-brainers.
So then maybe I'm off. I don't know.
Yeah. It's 3.
Well, who would you think it would be, Jeff?
Well, Ben got one.
Ben.
Didn't was Swan? No. Swan or Stallworth didn't win one. Franco?
Franco did, yes.
So the third.
It's an anniversary year for this one.
Why don't you just tell me what it is?
He's not going to know it. It's
Louis Lips, 40 years ago, 1984.
Yeah.
And this is where Jeff tells us I was 2.
Yeah.
84, I was 1. So,
okay, 1.
To clarify, yeah.
Yeah, number 83 and 84. Yep. So those were the 3 that did it. There are actually, let me count it up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other players, not counting, Kenny Pickett, because he didn't get any first place votes. There are actually 6 other Steelers since 1968 that received first place votes for Rookie of the Year. Any idea who those 6 are? Offensive Rookie of the Year.
3 is it 3 more besides these guys?
6 more.
6 more. Well, I'm going to say Tim Worley's one of them.
Tim Worley is not one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then I will go ahead and this is a stretch.
Yeah, Tim Worley was not because Barry Sanders ran away with it so bad.
Oh yeah, and then you had Aikman in that class, and you had a lot in that class.
It was Barry Sanders and Andre Rison were the only 2 that got votes in that class.
Then I would probably say Najee probably got one.
Najee did not.
Okay.
Unless I missed that one, I still don't think. I don't think
so.
No, he did not.
What about Marquise Pouncey?
Marquise Pouncey got 2 votes in 2010. He got 2 out of the 50.
Well, could we go ahead and I doubt Walter Abercrombie got one, but
nope.
Trying to think who.
John Funker is correct.
Cordell
Stewart had 2 out of 88 votes. That was they had different number of votes going back. Like Ben got 48 out of 48 votes. It wasn't even
Did Juju get a vote by chance?
Juju did not get a vote.
He had a good rookie year. I don't know. I'm just
going
through the draft. I'm going through the draft history now. Just looking.
What about Dermontti Dawson? Is that? I mean,
not Dermontti Dawson because remember
most of these guys
play really
players?
well their rookie year. Okay.
Well, then Swan and Stallworth are they voted?
No, they weren't. Nope. They weren't either one of them considered.
Let me go with Frank Lewis.
Nope.
Ron
now let's
Shankman?
start to narrow it down. There was 3 in the 2000s. 2 of them were back to back, but 3 in the 2000 and 2010. Because Pouncey was actually the most recent. Okay, there were 2 more in the 2000s.
Santonio Holmes?
Not Santonio Holmes. Getting a little bit closer with you.
So we have the 2000s. So did you say any in the 90s?
There's 2 more in 2000. No, we don't have the 2000. There's 2 more in the 2000s.
2 more in the 2000s.
2 in the 90s, where you got one of them, Cordell Stewart. And one in the 70s.
Why did the Steelers have to forfeit?
No. Troy Edwards.
Nope.
Why did the Steelers have to forfeit a 3rd round pick in 2001? Anyone remember? I'm looking at it and it says 2001 3rd round forfeited. And I'm trying to think what happened.
No, I know when they had to forfeit a 3rd round in like 1979. That was the John Clayton.
John Funker's at it again.
Heath?
Heath Miller got a vote.
Okay.
And your other vote, it was because that was back-to-back years. Roethlisberger and Miller got votes, and then the other two were back-to-back years in the 2000s. So I'll give you the year. It was 2009.
Mike Wallace.
One vote to Mike Wallace.
Huh.
So there you go. Pouncey, Wallace, Heath Miller, Cordell Stewart. I'll give you the years for these now. 1990.
Eric Green.
Eric Green had 3 votes out of 80.
Wow.
And then the one who had the most number of votes out of all of these in 1976.
Benny Cunningham.
Despite throwing for 0 touchdowns,
Mike Kruzek.
He got 7 Rookie of the Year votes.
Well, he had a 6-game winning streak.
In his 6-game winning streak where he threw no touchdowns.
Where he just managed the game.
Yep. So
wow.
There you go. Oh, and of course, just so you're wondering, Terry Bradshaw was considered to be a finalist but didn't get any first place votes. They listed 7 names, but only 3 people got votes. And of course, there was also one other player who was widely known with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but actually won Rookie of the Year for a different team.
Oh, that's Bettis.
Offensive. And that was Jerome Bettis in 1993.
That might be one of my favorite trivia questions that you've had. I love that.
Yeah. I have the answer to my own question.
Okay.
Bob Labriola says, during the 1998 season, as part of a verbal agreement Dan Rooney had with Will Wolford, the Steelers paid a bonus to Wolford that was ruled to be a salary cap infraction. The punishment was the forfeiture of a 2001 third-round pick. The NFL informed Dan Rooney that if he paid Wolford the bonus, the Steelers would be punished with the loss of a draft pick, but Rooney told the NFL he had given the player his word and that his word was more important to him than a draft pick, end quote.
We actually talked about that on the show as a trivia question a couple years ago.
We just didn't remember it.
you know what screwed me up is because that deal they made with Wolford was in 96. And then when the infraction happened, it was like 98 or 99, and they waited until 2001. It was weird. So that kind of screwed me up. I still wouldn't have got it. Who am I kidding?
All right. Good show. Final thoughts, Brian. Go for it.
All right, I want to talk about this week. We have had a lot of fun. If I bring the mood down, I'm going to apologize. But gosh, just heartbreaking news out of Kansas City on Valentine's Day, and that what happened at the parade. Rest in peace goes to Lisa Lopez, who passed away, a 43-year-old podcaster and broadcaster out of there, a mother. And we still don't have all the answers. But the reason I'm bringing all this up is they're talking about what's going to happen with celebrations. And in my lifetime, I've celebrated. In my lifetime, the Steelers have won 6. The Pirates have won 1 in my lifetime, and the Penguins have won 5. I have been to only one parade, but I went to a celebration as well. And the reason there was a celebration for the Penguins, it was in 1992 when they won the 2nd Stanley Cup over the Chicago Blackhawks. And the problem was there was so much rain, they had to put it in Three Rivers Stadium. And I watched that live, and we were on the third base side, and it was bouncing and rocking, and it was it was an amazing thing. And I'm almost wondering if that's something that we're going to go to now because of something that happened with this, even though we don't know all the answers. But when you have a parade and you have a celebration, and it doesn't matter who is celebrating, they're all human beings. You have Kansas City. I feel for the Chiefs players. I feel for the fans. I feel for the loved ones. I feel for everybody. Not because it ruined a celebration, but because there's a lot of guilt and hurt and sorrow over something that everybody was together just to celebrate something fun. And it turned into tragedy. And I look back at the fact that I went in 2006 to the Steelers parade, and I went in 1992. And I remember being there and just having the time of my life. And now I think it could have ended in a heartbeat from senseless violence. And when I think about it, one of the purest celebrations in the world is something like this. Watching the athletes after they went through a full season with their families, they're up there, they're celebrating, they're singing, and everybody's there to celebrate them, and something like that happens. It absolutely breaks my heart. So I'm bringing this up not to bring everybody down. I'm just like, let's remember what a pure celebration is, and whether we hate the Kansas City Chiefs, whether we think that Travis Kelce is obnoxious, whether we're sick of Taylor Swift, whether anything, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs, and congratulations to the players and Andy Reid who reacted and helped people in that parade instead of running for cover, because there were players and Andy Reid were ones that were trying to help people when that whole ordeal was happening. So that is the true triumph of the human spirit in the face of terrible, terrible adversity.
Well, is that Dave? Final thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys realize this, but we did get some breaking news during this podcast.
I did not hear that.
It's Pittsburgh news, not Steelers news. Since you brought up the Penguins, Jake Gensel, IR, out 4 weeks, trade deadlines in 3 weeks. Kind of seems a little bit convenient to not have to worry about the controversy there. Thanks for bringing that up. I mentioned it briefly on Stat Geek because at the time, still didn't know everything that was going down. So it's just people should be able to celebrate. And that's why sometimes I get frustrated going to stadiums where people who don't know how to, let's just say this, be responsible enough to know their limits that ruin the experience for others around them. And even things of that nature. But even that's a bummer. You shouldn't have to go and worry about celebrating in fear for your life. So yes, definitely, with everyone that went through that ordeal, that really don't know what else to say about it. But hey, Steelers Nation here, we had a nice, good, fun discussion. We're going to have a lot more of this because there's just so many differing opinions on what the Steelers could do, should do, will do. And it's a lot of talk, but what I'm looking forward to the most is seeing what the Steelers actually do rather than just have to talk about what we think they might do. And one of those big steps is less than a month away when we hit free agency. So I'm ready. Let's bring it on. Absolutely. Good show, gentlemen. As always, we will be back next Thursday, probably about the same bat time, same bat channel. So make sure you tune in for that. In the meantime, Dave, why don't you send us out? Hey. See you next week on another Steelers preview.
Network. Get it. Everybody else gets a little tight.